Hello, my name is Woody. This is Change in the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. Today, my guest is Stone Abdullah, author of the science fiction metaphysical romance series Darkness Falls. I lifted that straight from his press release, so you know he's got away with words. Science fiction metaphysical romance. It's erotic sci-fi. It's erotica. We're going to talk sexy today. I mean, when it comes to sexy metal, who does it better than Deftones, right? The TikTokers don't call them sex tones for nothing. And Stone has broken it down. He got scientific with the sexy, put the sexy into different categories, looked at all the variables, and do you know why? It's because he's a scientist. He was a climate scientist and an adjunct professor, and if you discovered him the way I did, he's one of the most exciting guitar players to ever bless Instagram. Stone introduced himself to the gram doing guitar covers of Deftones and Meshuggah and so many more. But he didn't just play the songs. He made you feel them. And it was all a part of his plan to promote himself as an author. And it's been effective. I mean, he caught the attention of at least a few kinky Deftones fans, right? So today, we're going to talk about Deftones and those qualities that make their music so sexy, and how those qualities informed his approach to crafting a narrative. And because he's such a great guitar player, and he loves that extended range, we're going to spend some time talking guitar today, baby. Ooh, yeah, big time guitar talk. You like that, don't you? I made it weird, didn't I? On another note, because it's so cool to talk about what Deftones are doing right now, because they're doing shit right now, Avid Frank spoke to NME at Download and confirmed there will be a Dia de los Deftones 2022. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, settle down. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly looking forward to that official announcement. Soon, hopefully. I don't have any inside info or anything, but I'm going to guess middle of next month we'll know the date and the lineup. Hopefully we'll know before the end of Season 3 here so we can celebrate it together and then celebrate again in San Diego. And one more thing about Deftones in London this past week. Holy shit, did London show up, man. That intimate show at the Forum in Kentish Town. If that was 2,000 people, that club looked fit for 1,500. Head from Korn was there. Frank Carter was in the pit. The whole crowd was singing their asses off. It was just a tremendous thing to see. And finally, before we get rolling, you'll hear Stone and I make mention of our first conversation a couple of times here. We spoke about a year ago after I was laid off, before I started my last gig, which ultimately led to the long break between Season 2 and Season 3 of this podcast. And then, right before I was about to kick off Season 3, I reached out to Stone to see if he'd help me out with a video to announce the start of the new season. I had this cool idea to have him play a medley of Deftones riffs and then cut into Blind by Korn, and then at that point, well, it was when I was going to reveal that Head was my first guest. And he did it. Even though he hadn't done any covers in a while, he did it. And it was awesome. And then, like days later, Sergio dropped the video explaining that he was no longer with Deftones, which we're going to talk about today for the first time on this podcast. But I decided I'd push the start of the season. We scrapped the video. It just didn't feel right anymore, but it was super cool. And I think it speaks to how generous and kind, on top of how smart and creative Stone is. So I hope you pick up on that too. And I hope you enjoy listening to him as much as I do. This is my conversation with Stone Abdullah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You can? Okay. Now hold on. There's some screwy with my settings. Your audio is supposed to be coming through my headset. Now, this is me trying to do the, it's almost like, okay, you're about to go live, and then there's a PA speaker blows, and you knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to fucking happen. I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of those days, like Limp Bizkit.
That's the expectation with Zoom anymore, is it's like, all right, it's going to let me in like with a dial-up speed. And then you're going to deal with like at least a few minutes of, do I have everything right?
Right. That's I miss those days. You know what I mean? Like that, but
the dial-up days.
Yeah. I miss the dial-up. It was just the
it was cool for the sound effects. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm like, yeah, this is sci-fi. I said the kids they're not going to appreciate this era. Those darn kids, they don't know what we had to deal with the 56K V90 fax modem. You know what I mean? And now here I am at I was at UPS the other day, and I was like, have you kids seen Terminator 2? I probably didn't call them kids. I was like, have you guys seen Terminator 2? And they just looked at me, bro. They looked at me. I said, no. They said, what is that? They asked me, what is that?
That hurts me in some really like sensitive places.
Bro, I said, I don't have time to explain the entire plot to you. I said, just Google Skynet. I said, just Google Skynet. And
That's a terrible idea, dog. That's a terrible idea. They're going to set off Judgment Day that way.
This is what they get for not being cultured. You know what I mean? I want to, harm them like they harmed me. That's all I'm saying. Like, I walked out of that UPS that day with a broken heart. As a matter of fact, I called my sisters, plural, and I got them on three-way. One of them's in North Carolina. The other one, she's like 20 minutes away. And I said, you guys won't believe what happened to me in the UPS. And they said, what happened this time, Stone? And I said, these kids didn't know Terminator 2. And they both went like, what? I said, yeah. Now, mind you, these are my big sisters. So they, you know what I mean? They get it. So it was a 5-minute conversation. We lamented in that moment. You know what I mean? And we're just like, man, what's wrong with this generation? I was like, we got to teach these kids. I said, maybe
I saw a T2 meme like a couple of weeks back, and it was like this. It was like a behind the scenes shot, and you saw Schwarzenegger like from a wide frame when he was walking around in the bar. Like you could see him when he was supposed to be nude, but he was wearing like these board shorts and flip flops. So it like totally changed the whole like outlook of the scene to me. Like it was the most badass nude scene in the history,
of movies. But
like,
they put
period. But he was walking around in board shorts, and I was like, "This is fucking hysterical." I think it was a legit photo, like a behind the scenes photo from the filming of the movie. Still sexy though. Schwarzenegger. I mean,
still absolutely. I mean, board shorts or not.
That is a very interesting segue, or not really a segue, because I think I want to maybe touch on it a little bit later. But
okay,
I think there is a parallel in the way that we idolize. I think especially just like from a male like fanboy perspective on rock stars and movie stars and masculinity and sexuality.
Oh God,
there's like a heady conversation in there that I don't know. Maybe we'll dabble in a little bit today, but I am excited to talk to you about Deftones and sexiness.
Oh, dude,
I'm looking at your wall behind you and all of the sexy women on the walls behind you.
Yeah, man. Let me just let you have that for just a second.
It's
me and the fro is going to be standing here.
I'm drinking it in. I'm not just taking it in. I'm drinking it in.
You're taking a digital bath and shit.
Yeah, this is why I knew I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. my man. It's been like what, a year and a half. I was just like, damn.
It's been a stretch. I don't know how closely you were following along, but it was basically like unemployment. I lost my job, and then I got another job, and then I came back. So it was just a winding road. But I feel like it's really I don't know. It feels like we were supposed to have this conversation. Like this was sort of cooking in my mind for a minute. Like if there was like a bunch of the conversations that I've released or am releasing in season 2, not a bunch, but a few of them were pretty evergreen. And ours, not so much. I feel like you've had some opportunities to tell your story and your backstory, but I'm also more like interested in where you are now, and also it's a little bit more clear to me now how erotic Journey of the Shadow is. So talking about that in particular too is exciting. It's exciting to me. So I'm super stoked to catch up with you in the long and short of it. And also I love your Meshuggah shirt. Your Meshuggah shirt. How great is that album? How great is the new album they just put out?
Oh, stop it. I yesterday, I think, how long did I have Phantoms on repeat? I think for about an hour. I was just listening to it.
Is the one that you're okay. I got to look at which
and because it was God, he sees in mirrors, and then Armies of the Preposterous, and then I went back through the album. Like you listen through a whole album once or twice, and then you go and say, well, let me, because this is what I do. I said, well, let me go back and just listen to some songs and let me understand the recursion of what they're doing. And I listened to Phantoms. I was just like, damn, Phantoms, that's really good. That was really good. And it just stayed on repeat. Like I was doing shit. I was out and about, making the neighbors, fearful, because this is a retirement community where I am. But because they don't understand the sugar like I do, but that's okay. They need to be educated. Long story short, Phantoms was on like an hour. And I said, just what is it about this track? It resonated with me the same way oh shit, it's the spell of mathematics. One time, man, you look on Amazon or you look at on these other streaming services and you look at how like popular a particular song is. And what disappoints me is that the spell of mathematics is not as popular as like Error or Urantia. Like Urantia is just pure sex. Let's just get that out of the way. Because Abe Cunningham is just, they recorded with no clicks and it was beautiful. The whole fucking album was a masterpiece. But then when I heard Spell of Mathematics, I went back to it. I was just like, I was just like, and they just stayed on that one, just like the Isley Brothers would have done. You know what I mean? Or like or the Gap Band. You know what I'm saying? But they did it in Deftones way, and I just sat there in my fucking Jeep for maybe like 30 minutes, burning gas for no reason. This was like 2 years ago. For no reason, I'm burning gas in the parking lot, and I'm just like, man, I love this fucking song. You know what I mean? And the same thing resonated with me with Phantoms. There's something about it that I don't know. There's a certain low frequency or whatever. Maybe we'll touch on that during the podcast. But Meshuggah, they're Meshuggah. You know, they have that sonic imprint. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And regardless if, like, I knew the boys were going to go to 9 strings. Like, I was talking to my man from Red Layer Guitars, and my man, he used to be at like an ex guitar tech for Meshuggah, and they're all in Sweden. Really nice people. I'm like, damn, all the Swedish are this nice? Huh, need to go to Sweden. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, long story short, that's just aside. And my man, I can't pull up his name now, but I know he's Red Layer Guitars if you look at him on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I knew Meshuggah was going to go 9 string. And he said, I'm waiting to see as to whether or not they use one of my 9 strings. I was like, well, you mean they haven't told you? Frederick hasn't told you? He's like, no. I'm like, it's been 7 months. They finished recording the album in September of last year. And they finished recording and then they mastered it in October. And then, Thomas, he got the eczema problem, whatever, that pushed things out.
Is that why they had to postpone the tour?
That's right. Because, Thomas has got that. It's like an immune thing. The doctors still haven't isolated what the hell is going on with his hands. Sucks. Like internal eczema. Like, it fucking sucks. If you see the interview he did recently with Rolling Stone magazine, he gets in a little more detail about it, how it, impacted the band and what they wanted to do. But my man at Red Layer, he confirmed that, they switched to 9s. And I was immediately thinking, I was just like, fuck, if I didn't sell. You remember, I had a 9 string and I called it Nuclear Winter. And, because it was fucking amazing. And I was telling Johan Lundgren of Lundgren Guitars, right? I was like, dude, I need to get like some M9s. Because M8s are like the signature pickups for Meshuggah, right? And so Lundgren, guess what? He makes M9s. So I was like, all right, well, we're going from active pickups to passive and yada, yada, yada. But wouldn't you know it? Shit was happening. Had to sell that guitar. Had to sell the guitar because I didn't have the space. Didn't have the room. Wow. I was like, well, I could use the funds, and I hated to sell that 9 string. So now that we're here wrapping it back around, this whole Journey of the Shadow thing, like I told you in the DMs, I am pushing this horse as hard as I can so we can get another 9 string in this motherfucker, because I've got to play Woody. I've got to play the Spell of Mathematics. I've got to play Phantoms. It's just the beautiful stuff. There's beauty and simplicity of what both Steph did on the Ohms album. Like, he didn't use a 9 all the time, but when he used it, it was beautiful.
Is it a 9 string on Spell of Math? It's a 9 string on Spell of Math.
Yes, that's a 9 string. He bust out the 9 string. I was just like, you son of a bitch. You would do that.
Talk about what that does for you as a player. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I like the low register, right? And for whatever reason, I resonate with it. But as a guitarist, right, and I don't do a whole bunch of leads, etc. Some people like leads. A lot of people like rhythms. I like to stay in the rhythm section because, growing up, there was a lot of funk and blues, etc. in the household. But me, I gravitated towards moving along with the groove. Like, fills, what's that phrase? Fills give the thrills, but the groove pays the bills. That sort of thing. you know what I'm saying? Dope. I'm going to get on a t-shirt. So I was I'm with the groove. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was like, well, how can I communicate with the anchors of any band, which is the drummer and that bass man? You listen to them, the whole band's got it. Doesn't matter what you can do. You know what I mean? And so gravitating towards like the 9-string and what you want to do with it, it's like having a piano. I've got to mention that. I've been playing piano for longer than I've been playing guitar. Oh, wow. Yeah. I learned piano first. I don't say it much, because people, they want to come to the, my page or whatever to see me headbang and sweat.
Do you play piano the same way that you play guitar?
No. I mean, it can get intense.
Like some sometimes. Great balls of fire and shit. Like
yeah. So hell yeah, some Jerry Lee Lewis. Oh fuck yeah,
we'll get some your hair and shit.
Hell yeah. Don't let me get sweaty. It's I start to look like I've got soul glow or whatever. You know what I mean? I was just like. It looks amazing. Get him a towel. Yeah. Give me a towel. I don't even give myself a towel. You know what I mean? Like so I'll be in here just jamming along to shit. That's how you get involved. But yeah, so having like those extra octaves, I suppose, when you're playing piano, and you automatically see that as an additional range. So that's why you call those guitars extended range guitars, right? Because you're just adding 1 or 2 additional octaves. For me, it's like you're opening up the depth of either the melody or the chord, or just the depth of the song. You're adding more octaves to it. You're adding a lower frequency, something that hits you as if like an elephant was like, I don't know, dancing by, not stomping by, but dancing. You're like, I didn't think that could resonate with me, but you have to experiment with it, right? So that's why when you're playing piano, left hand's doing a lot of stuff in the bass clef, right? And then the right hand's doing a lot of stuff in the treble clef. Okay, well, you go to an extended range, you can hit something in that treble clef, just like the boys in Sugar do. And off their Immutable album, God He Sees in Mirrors, and they touch on that 9-string like every 1/8 of a note. You can hear it, and it just adds an extra, I don't know, depth of impact. Something that Bruce Lee said. It's like, it's not a kung fu punch, it's a gung fu punch. Kung fu punch, it hits you, it's like, okay, that hurts. Gung fu punch is like, wow, that's got some impact to it. And so one thing that I've noticed in the guitar, I'm not calling anybody out, all right, I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying there's beauty and subtlety when it comes down to what it is that you want to do with that additional string. They call it the C sharp string after the last E. So you got 3 E's on an 8 string, and then that thick, the thick girls behind me. I had to say it. Folks listening at home, I wish you could see it, but
2 C's, 2 C's.
2 C's.
H-I-C-C.
Yeah, well, my man. I see some CC's back there, brother. Oh God, I can do this all night.
Shit.
But that C sharp string, what I see is guys, they're doing too much with it. Overemphasis. Like, okay, we understand it's a 9-string. You don't always go to the E first, all the way down there, right? When you're trying to hit something. Sometimes you want to stay on the G string. Sorry, pun intended, folks at home. But sometimes you stay on the G string and you bend that motherfucker, right? Because you're saying something with it. That's the key. See that? You're saying something with it. And so for me as a musician, I implement the lower 9-string, the C sharp string, as I would do one of the lowest octaves on like this is how many keys are in that 76? You got 81. 81's a full board, I believe. Don't quote me on the numbers, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's 88 keys.
Failed I didn't fail, but I cheated.
But yeah, okay. It's okay. We've come this far. We made it. That's right, kids at home. You can cheat and get ahead in the world. It's the best way. It's 88 keys. My bad. See, my math is coming back. So it's 88 keys. And the lower 2 octaves, you hit those every now and then to add some extra drama, that extra impact, right, in your composition. And the same thing can be done with an extended range. So a lot of the higher melodies you can, accomplish with the first 6 strings. Something that Steph was saying to Martin Hagstrom in some inebriated conversation that took place in 2006 or 7, I believe. You guys look that up. Steph Carpenter, he was Steph at the time, with all the ganja. And my man Martin Hagstrom, he was inebriated And this was, of course, after the release of Saturday Night Wrist. And then when our boys dropped Obson dropped in 06. So so they were talking about music in general and how they switched to these, extended range guitars and what they were wanting to do with them. And something that they touched on that resonated with me, it's all about resonance. We're talking about acoustic stuff. So all you audio engineers, you should appreciate this nomenclature. See, how the hell do you spell nomenclature? N-C. Fuck it. Anyway, it's 2 C's. It's 2 C's. Folks at home, brought to you by Toys R Us. They're dead. I was going to say Blockbuster, but I was like, no, that one hurts too much. No, not Blockbuster.
They get beat up all the time.
Yeah. But old Steph and Martin, they were saying that what they wanted to accomplish in terms of self-expression, right? They found it by reaching out to these particular guitars. As you know, like Meshuggah's origins, came from, everybody comes from a 6-string or whatever, right? And we know that Steve Vai, he's the guy that brought 7 strings to the table with his, signature Ibanez, right? But then it was Korn. It was the boys in Korn. You had Brian on your show the other week, and it was those boys that picked it up during the new metal scene and started doing some really heavy, disgusting, rips with it. And by the time, all of this was circulating at the same time in the early 90s, etc., that's when they started shifting and experimenting with these guitars. And we know that Steph didn't really start recording with Extended until self-titled album, if that's because he was doing Drop C on White Pony. And so when self-titled dropped, and I was like, man, what the fuck is he doing? And what the fuck is he doing? I was listening to it. You listen to Minerva or Battle Axe or Hexagram. I was like, how do you get that 7? Oh, he's got the extra string, son of a bitch, right? And it added more texture to it, and it was memorable, right? But I said, but that's still Steph Carpenter, right? And then when you look at go from Chaos Sphere. I bounce back between Tones and Sugar. It's going to happen. From Chaos Sphere to Nothing, right? And you're like, Chaos Sphere was heavy. My God, what were they doing? They were on a lot of sugar. No, facts. They were on a lot of sugar. That's what they said when they were younger, and that's why you have those high energy, fucked up riffs and stuff that were still in 4/4, right? And so you have these right, and Frederick's just. He's just doing stuff, and they're like, yeah, man, that's great. And they recorded it. But when you transition from Destroy, Erase, Improve all the way to Nothing, I think that's when Nothing dropped in like 2002, if I'm not mistaken. That's when they switched to 8. They didn't go to 7. They were doing 7s on Chaos Sphere, right? And then they went to 8 on Nothing. But then they also switched pickups from EMG to Lundgren so they can get that perfect lower range, so you can pick up that frequency.
Like that album, it's not, the guitar sound just like they're
right,
like literally in a bouncing environment. Like everything is just boom, boom.
It's boom, just boom, this elasticism that you feel in this groove. It's just driving, energy, and they were able to execute that by experimenting with that particular instrument that gave them that additional range, right? Between Martin and Frederick. And that dynamic, right, set a whole new plateau, right, in terms of technical death metal. Like, and now we see them today, and they went to the 9. It took them how many albums? Okay, Omson, and then experimental album Catch 33. Don't forget that one. Colos, and it was Violent Sleep for Reason. So like 6 albums, 6.5 albums before they went to a 9. But that lets you know that they found their zone. Right, they found their zone and what they could do. My God, what can't they do? They're machines. By the way, I want to mention to the folks listening at home. It turns out we did a 23 and me. The little genealogy test.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And turns out, like, we always knew that on my dad's side, God rest his soul, my dad's side, we had this Dutch lineage, right? But turns out that it's Dutch and Swedish. I was like, oh shit. Well, there it is. I was like, I've been talking to my kin folks this whole fucking time.
The whole time. Literally
the whole time. I was like, well, it makes sense. Anyways, into the vault, under the rug, back to the CCs, ladies and gentlemen. But for me, it's just, wrap that whole concept up of extended range and what it does in terms of musicality. If I could borrow a term from Thomas Hawk, musicality, it adds a greater depth, a broader sense of that sonic scope, if you will. And when executed within your creative expression, right? You're not trying to prove anything or trying to all this other type of bullshit that you see out here that's not about self-expressionism, right? When you stay true to that, you're going to see that the instrument is just an extension of what it is that you're trying to say. What is it that you're trying to communicate? You can do that with a 6, 7, or 8, or 9, or what have you. But with the 9, oh my gosh, it's just opening up more doors for your self-expressionism. And that's what I really appreciate about extended range guitars, especially that depth. And for me, I like it heavy. You know what I'm saying? I like it dark. I like it heavy. I mean, like my girls, I like them thick. I like them heavy. I mean, you guys can't see it at home. I keep pointing to these posters that you can't see, but these birthing hips, my God, they all have
so
them.
Fleshy, so voluptuous.
They're
nice. It's super nice. I'll be on this end of the screen. It's a pleasure to see you again, but I'm not looking at you.
Can I just back away just for your sake, Woody? Can I just back away? See, there you go. That's cool. Yeah, it's great stuff. Shout out to my man. The artist is Shikari. He's from the Indian subcontinent. He did this work 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, for the Darkness Falls project. Yada yada yada. Anywho, we'll get more into that.
I do want to talk more about that, but first I want to note the imagery that you used there with respect to Spell of Math and it being this elephant like strutting through the Sahara or whatever. Like that's perfect, and I can totally identify what you're talking about with the restraint that he employs in that song, because
with that melody,
it's not doing a lot, and I know that a lot of times, what they'll say is, we're not great musicians, we're not doing that, but it's right. You got to be really, I think
you have to be in tune with yourself, right?
In tune with yourself, and in service of the song, and in the
overall composition, and
capable to deliver that.
That's
right. To still deliver that, and that's remarkable. And
it's genius.
I love
it's beautiful, man. Like I said, I had it on for 2 hours at a time. I was like, it's beautiful. There's dark, there's high points where there's this cataclysm where Chino's he's Chino being Chino, and then suddenly they're just lulling you into this melody, into the chorus. I'm like, damn. And then he hits that. It's the C sharp. He left it in C sharp. Yeah, I can't vocalize it. I believe in the, and then he just da 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 da, and then I'm like, yes. It just gives me it gave me chills every fucking time I heard it. I'm like, the beauty and subtlety. I said it takes someone with a certain amount of discipline to know that is enough to execute what is necessary for the song, right? And it's so well done. So I gotta say bravo to Deftones. They know what the fuck they're doing. I'm gonna say this also, just for the folks, you guys probably already know this, but since we're getting up in age and whatever, these guys are grandmasters at what they do. You know what I mean? The Deftones are Deftones. They have their sonic imprint, regardless of how they execute it. Like between White Pony, right? That was everyone's kind of entry drug, I would say, to Deftones. Mm-hmm. And then, but when you compare that record with what they did, it Gore, they don't. Oh man, I wish people could just sit down and listen to Gore one more time. Right. And understand that the same execution of experimentalism that they were doing with White Pony. Look at the dynamic shift, right? A pure 180 almost between Around the Fur and what they did with White Pony, right? And then Chino, I'll quote him. He said that Around the Fur was his favorite album, one, because he said this was our album. Say, oh, you thought that we were bad motherfuckers with Adrenaline. Look what we can do now. And then he wasn't lying, because again, I'll say it, Damone is probably the greatest hidden track in history. Like that, God,
hands down.
Hands down. Like all the energy they gave you, and I'll get back to the topic at hand in a minute, but all the energy that they gave you from around the fur, and they gave you lotion, die the flu, then they hit you in the face with head up, and then they said, well, we're going to have sex in MX, and then 32 something minutes later, here comes it, just Abe's like, but this relentless riff and this relentless groove, and then all of a sudden in the verse, Abe is just rolling with that fucking snare, and I was like, this is why, you know, I hate you. So far, I've been down. That's true. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? This is a hidden track? I was like, no way. I was like, you're a rapper, huh?
And man, dude, there's a reason they don't make hidden tracks anymore, and it's not because everything's digital. It's because you can't touch that shit.
Because you can't. It's untouchable, my friend.
You can't.
It's almost like MC Hammer. He's a preacher now, but you still can't touch this. You know.
No, you don't. I know. I've seen the documentaries. You don't fuck with Hammer. Hammer's connected.
No. Yeah,
Hammer's a connected dude.
He's connected. Okay, folks at home, don't you fuck with the Hammer. But I was saying between like White Pony and Gore, and how like the Deftones, they're basically grandmasters of what they do with their sonic imprint, regardless of how they execute it. And being as a musician, oh man, that reminds me of a conversation I had with Wes Borland, because like I said, a lot of old heads, I've gotten to know him.
That's sick. I love Wes Borland.
Yeah, Wes, he's such a sweetheart. Can I say that? Wes Borland,
I think so. I believe it. I buy it.
If you ever listen to this shit, Wes, you're a fucking sweetheart. Okay, shout out.
And please come on the show.
And come on the show, please.
Come talk about Deftones with me. That'd be dope. You were in the shit. Wes Borland was in the shit.
He was like knee deep in that shit.
He was the shit. He literally was the shit. They played They played stadiums around the world.
That's fucking amazing, dude.
Massive.
Like, could you imagine that at that time? That energy, that vibe, that gosh. I want it back. Like they were trying to do that when we were young. I was like, fuck that. Bring back Family Values Tour. You know what I'm saying? I'm bring back Ozfest or something.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I wasn't into that emo shit.
No.
Deftones was as emo as I got.
Yeah, that was
if I got any more emotional, it was on some sexy shit. It was R&B.
Yeah, exactly. It was R&B, or it was 9 Inch Nails. It was one of the two. That was it. I'm like, that's all you get out of me.
One or the other. If it was in between, it literally was rap music. That was it.
That was it. I thought. That's all you're getting. But so the point I was bringing out for the Deftones being, you know, grandmasters at their craft, and when I was talking to Wes about, you know, they said, oh, we were looking at some comments that people dropped in his Instagram, and I said, favorite this, favorite that. I was like, Wes, you know, I said, as creatives, you know, because Wes is incredibly fucking talented. Like he's just an artistic, just avalanche, you know, like he does all this paintings and does all this other shit, you know what I mean? He's just an artist. And what we talked about is there's really no such thing as favoritism when you're creating, because what all you're doing at the end of the day is appreciating what the artist has accomplished, right? Mm-hmm. What you're taking a look at it piece by piece. You know, you see those snooty people and in some, you know, I don't know, art museum where a banana strapped to a wall is like $6 million, right?
Right.
Okay. So there's you know, there's absurdity, right? But beyond that, folks, there's appreciation. That's just what it is. Because everyone has certain tastes, and that's just the nature of humanity. But when you're a creative, what you do mentally or visually is say, well, what is it that they're communicating? Again, goes back to that communication. What is it that they're, you know, what story are they telling? I'm a storyteller, right? Literally, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I see stories everywhere. I hear stories. People having a, you know, random conversation. There's a story behind everything. And the premise of the conversation between me and Wes is that you don't really rank anything. What you do is you just appreciate for what message a particular song or a particular album was bringing to you, and how that resonated with you at the time, or how it still resonates with you, you know? So I said, well, that gives you more degrees of freedom to appreciate what it is that everyone's contributing towards the composition, for example, in a band. I said it gives you more degrees of freedom to appreciate the brushstrokes in an art piece or whatever. Like, what was the technique that they used? Man, between Saturday Night Wrist and that was two. Yeah, it was back to back. Saturday Night Wrist and Diamond Eyes. I don't know how much bigger of a contrast you need, because Saturday Night Wrist and self-titled, of course, everyone knows that that's the dark times and yada, yada, yada. And then they tend to put a negative connotation on the band, but that was some of their best material. That was some of their best material, because look what they were able to accomplish during that time. It's fucking phenomenal. Have you not heard the last 57 seconds of Beware? Have you people, have you not heard the last 57 seconds of Beware? You know what I mean? Have you, it's just, what is it? Is it fear? Do you need to be horny? Should you have a boner? What do you need to feel in that moment? And since 2006, I still don't know what the fuck I need to feel, but it's there and it's amazing. And only Deftones can make you feel that way. Sponsor.
Oh man, that is like so on point. A question it raises too, is that your approach, or is that how you decided, okay, like if I'm going to tell stories in fictional form, is that how you're like, all right, erotica, I am here for the appreciation of the sexual nature of this world that I'm going to create? Is that what it's about, or is it more about the stories, or like what specifically is it that like compelled you to make your creative output about these beautiful thick women that I'm looking at behind you?
I mean, number one, thank you. Number two, great question. My approach, my friend, I don't know. When you're creating something, you don't start off with an idea, so to speak. A lot of people, they'll say, or writers or authors, they'll say, oh, I outlined this, or I'll write this out and I'll bullet point this and I'll have it there. But I don't really do that. I don't necessarily fly by the seat of my pants either. What I like to envision in terms of telling a story is that I'm jumping into a spaceship and I'm about to sail into a universe, and I'm going to explore planet by planet, and I'll say, oh, it has this type of atmospheric composition. That's cool. Like if you hopped across every planet in our solar system, shit's different. You know what I'm saying? But there's something to appreciate about every freaking fucking planet. They're all different, but they're all so fucking cool. Like shout out Uranus. I had to say it. Shout out. So, methodically speaking, in terms of creativity, the
timing of that shit was fucking so on point. I did not see that shit coming. Neo wouldn't have been able to dodge that one.
No, Neo would no. It would have been the end of the
Matrix.
Matrix.
That shit was funny.
He was just like, Trinity, I got shot. God damn it.
Oh my God.
It wasn't an agent. It was a pun. Could you imagine? Like the whole Matrix series was destroyed by a dad joke. It would be amazing. I want to happen.
Oh shit! It wasn't an agent. It was a pun.
It was a pun, dude. Oh my
so
God. Sorry, folks at home. Not
might have made the last one better. The last one.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it was not. I needed the green filter. I needed more things in there. It just, as a writer, I was like, well, we paid money for it, so I'm going to stick it out. I shouldn't have stuck it out because that's time that I can never get back.
Can't get it back.
I can't get that time back.
I wanted it so, but I know people want they want to re-experience what they had before or whatever.
Right, but that's not going to.
Whatever, yeah. But
Hollywood, stop with the rehashes. Stop it. Yeah. Stop it. They're not. I mean,
in all fairness, I guess it was sort of. It was different. It was definitely different.
It was different, yeah. It was different, but it wasn't no damn Matrix. I'll tell you that.
No damn Matrix at all. Yeah. And that's all the time we're going to spend talking about that fucking
bullshit. Yeah, that's it.
Matrix.
bullshit ass, not fake Matrix movie. Matrix. Fake ass. Bill and Ted. Get that weak shit out of here. Get that weak shit out of here. Oh God, hope you guys are learning something. So my approach when it came down to sex, I'll tell you this, man, it came out of nowhere. It really did, because I had this story to tell about this young man, and he's got all these powers, and he's not really sure where he got them from, but he's not really sure why he could do what he does. But he understands his objective, but he does understand the world he lives in. And that's a really interesting, like, that's a branch of duality of man, right? I said, so is this dude a dude, or is he something else? Is he some sort of supernatural entity, that sort of thing? And so I wanted to explore that, and hence the title Journey of the Shadow. He sees himself as a shadow in a world that he doesn't belong. See that? Look at that. You see that shit? The play on words. But then I said, well, we need something to expound upon that. I said something we can how do you say, you can play upon that principle of him trying to understand himself. And I said, and what in the world would be a great identifier in terms of observation? I said, you need a lady to do that. Not just any lady. There's a lady that's walked this place for, some time. And there's nothing more beautiful outside of mathematics than a lady's intuition. I'm going to say it like this. And, dudes, we think like 1, 2, 3 on a number line. Okay. I know we talked about math earlier, but don't worry. I'll keep it short. So dudes think like 1, 2, 3, ... all the way up to whatever, infinity. Ladies, it depends on how many decimals to the right that they take it out. But my God, they'll do 1.00001, 1.00002. They look at the fine details, right? And they won't forget that shit. And what I find that remarkable, because I'm just trying to get to number 2. And she's over here like, we're not even at 1.99999 yet, because there's a lot of other shit that we have to consider. I was like, oh shit, because it's still a real number. It's still part of the number line, you see? So I was like, well, we need some, for lack of better terminology, we need some fucking MILFs in this motherfucker. So I was like, all right, so how are we going to do this without being too obvious? And I was like, well, how far are we going to take it? And so I was like, all right, okay, cool. We've got these. I said, let's make them aliens. Let's make them some extra dimensional beings or something grand that's going to really expound upon that. Oh, I hit the microphone because I'm waving my hands at home, folks at home. But I said, we need something. We need to put them in positions where it's going to exemplify that idea that I just stated about women's intuition. So I was like, all right, well, we got a trifecta goddess system. Okay, cool. No spoilers. I said, but these might be, as above, as you see in your screen, Woody, as above, so below. There's symmetry here, right? You get 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. A little bit tool quote, so above, as above, so below, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, there's a sequence here, and I can't ruin it for you guys if you want to read the stuff. But I said, well, now we've got all these. Oh, by the way, they're long-lived. Say, for example, Arlette, bottom right. This is our chocolate elf extraterrestrial. Like I said, I'm a fan of Star Wars. Not Star Wars, Star Trek. A lot of Star Trek. Too much Star Trek, as a matter of fact. So I was just like, I got a blue alien. You got to have a blue alien with cat eyes. And she was developed by like a director of research of the Ordivision people on the other side of the galaxy or whatever. She's a fucking mercenary and all this other type of stuff. I was like, this is getting really cool. By the way, the character I just described is Mercenary Tatiana, the blue alien. She is confirmed to be really fucking cool by Fred Durst twice, because I tagged Fred Durst on Instagram, and I said that her personality was really rooted in Nookie. Nookie slapped the shit out of me when I heard it a long time ago. When it first dropped, right? Like how, when Follow the Leader dropped, slapped the shit out of me. But then I heard, Significant Other. I was like, what the fuck? She had me feeling bad. She had me feeling good. It's kind of sad. I'm the laughing stock of the neighborhood. I was like, damn, that gives me inspiration for a character. Tatiana was born in 1999. And I said, she's got this badass go get him, persona, and she gives no fucks. She's a straight shooter, but she's a motherfucking sweetheart at the same time. I was like, I love the shit. And fans of the series, they love the shit out of Tatiana. I was like, what's not to love about her? So I tagged Fred, and I was telling folks, I was like, Tatiana would not have existed if not for Nookie. Literally wouldn't have existed. And then, Fred, he's just like, right on, man. I was like, fuck yeah, Fred. I said, appreciate you.
That's cool as hell.
It's cool as fuck. And Fred, he's such a cool motherfucker. So shout out to you, Fred Durst. So where the sex comes in, where's all the sex and erotic come in? So that came in a lot later, because remember, I was writing for about 20 odd years, right? In between things, school, blah, 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 a lot of life stuff happens. And I sat down and I asked myself, I said, okay, so there's sexual tension, there's romance, yada, yada, yada. I said, but man, I said, he's probably going to wind up getting in trouble, quote unquote, with one of these ladies, if not all of them. How are we going to take that step? Because I wasn't used to writing that. That's really difficult to write. Porn is what it is. It's a bastardization of the beauty of the mating ritual. I will say that up front first. Erotica takes a lot more work because you're being much more creatively expressive about the nature. Everybody knows that the nature of smashing, okay? But the way that you present it, particularly in word form, you've got to have some kind of, I don't know, how do you say, wordsmithing, right? It takes a lot of wordsmithing to express that. So I was like, man, that's going to be tough. I was like, well, who or what can assist me? Deftones. I was like, oh, well, that was easy. And so what I did, I started studying Deftones in a different light, because of course, listening to, your boy, I'm listening to Steph, because I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like on Rats. I'm like, how do you tune his guitar? You know what I mean? And then I was like, wait a minute. Listen to Beware, listen to Cherry Waves, listen to Xerxes. Like the first 15 seconds of Xerxes, it's like you're traveling out in the middle of fucking space and through a nebula cloud. And then Chino just comes in, universe. I was like, oh shit, that's great. You know what I mean? I was like, this is another perspective. You see that? You're looking at it from a different lens. So I took off my musician hat and I put on my writer's hat. I was like, okay, well, let's go back in their discography. Dude, and when I did that, I was just like, oh, Change in the House of Flies. Dude, it's pure sex. Lyrically, it doesn't sound like it. You know what I mean? But I guarantee you a lot of babies were born because of that song. I guarantee you a whole generation of people was born because of that one fucking song. Breaking Benjamin covered the song. Who didn't cover the song when it dropped?
Some babies were born. I hope some babies got.
Yeah, I hope so. Shout out to you, Change in the House of Fly babies listening out there. But that forced me to go back and re-study their discography and listen to their songs, and like I said, in a different lens. And I know we talked about this off air. I made a really small, brief list, and I said, and I called it Deftone songs for writing spicy stuff, right? And by the way, this is an old file that I updated because I did the search. You know what I mean? You do your search in your files. I was like, Deftones. I was like, I wrote something about Deftones here. I'm like, there it is. And the title is Deftone songs for writing spicy stuff. So I broke it down to 3 categories, my friend.
Yes.
Sexual tension. Okay. Sexual encounters, which, you might make out, foreplay, that sort of thing. You're not there yet. You're not second base.
You're on your way there.
Yeah. You're on your way. Okay.
You're on your way there, but you're not there yet.
You're not there yet, my friend. And then I said the third category is straight up mating. So that's the way I had it categorized. And the songs I've got, say for example, under sexual tensions, Birthmark, Gauze, Prince. And when you look at, just listen to one lyric from Birthmark. God, I'll even lick her fucking picture. I was like, man, that's some yearning. That's some yearning. That's some wanting right there. I was like, that's some tension. That's apprehension there. I said, we can capitalize off of that energy. So I would go back and I'd do that same sort of investigation, both lyrically and sonically, with Deftones' discography. I might as well say it. Let's get straight to the point. The straight up mating, I can't skip over that. The sexual encounters, Beware, Labia, RX Queen, so good. My God, that's RX Queen. Engine number 9. Yeah. How much groove is in that? How much aggression? It's because there's different types of sexual encounters. You might have prey meets hunter, right? Prey meets hunter. And oftentimes, I'm just going to tell you guys at home, my boy, Commander Simisu, he's often prey. He doesn't know. He's 19. He's running against space cougars. All these, Arlette's 124. Suzuka's 3,170 years old, 3,170. Tatiana's 826. Natalia, you guys can't see the picture, so it's not a spoiler. Natalia's like 5,069 nice years old.
None of them look their age.
They don't look. They're aliens, bro. They're aliens. I was like, Ridley Scott, shout out to you, bro. They're not spitting acid, but whatever. or laying eggs for that matter. But hey,
that might be dope.
I mean, hey, it depends on what floats your boat. You know,
book
what I'm
7,
saying?
look out.
Yo, guys, book 3, you can go see some different type of action. I'm just saying, we've got action, and then we've got action. Oh God. But looking at, oh my God, Around the Fur, that's on Under Sexual Encounters. Abe's intro into Around the Fur, that alone, just, you know, it fucks really hard. Like, I mean, I say that with a lot of emphasis, my friends. But then you go to MX, where it's just straight up sex. Change, straight up sex. Cherry Wave, straight up. You've seen The Butcher, motherfuckers. You've seen The Butcher. Steph Carpenter's just starting off with that sexy dun 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 dun. I'm like, and
maybe
then
the only Deftones song that I've seen it or heard in the strip club, or at least the one that I've heard the most, probably in a strip club, is
Yeah,
it's really interesting too to think about these songs and the way that you use them to access these different perspectives.
Oh yeah, Pink. Stop it.
But they're not all like they're not all the tradition. Like, you've seen The Butchers, it seeps sex, like it just oozes.
It's just they
Engine 9 isn't necessarily like the first song that you think of, or like, even I was thinking about this a little bit, and I was like, all right, you know, Digital Bath, that's a sexy song. Like, you know, there's the you've seen The Butcher, but then I was like, all right, let me just go back to Adrenaline real quick. And I was like, shit, the first notes of Bored, and then Chino comes in, and it's like, this dude is that's fucking, that's sexy. That shit was sexy.
God, that's sexy.
But
my
like
God.
that's something about that, and how you articulated that, and the perspectives that they even are bringing within their roles in the songs, like that
between Chino, Steph, and Abe. That's a powerful trifecta. That like that formula that I was talking about earlier, that they're grandmasters at. Abe with that just unrelenting groove, that he doesn't give it up, and he's just one of those masters, right?
And let's be honest, sex is better when you're doing it rhythmically.
What you talking about? Okay, if you can make the ladies' hips move, come
on. I don't know what you're doing.
Come on, what you doing?
I know we're just a couple of dudes. We're probably not the most qualified dudes if you're talking about what's sexy, but I'd like to think that maybe we are. But like, come on, that shit is sexy as hell.
Come on, that's motherfucking sexy. All right, just give it up. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to walk up to a lady and say, "Hey, you should give it up." Like, no.
What's your groove like, girl?
What's your groove? Yeah, I'm like, girl, you know. What's that? Bismarck says, so I can ask you some questions to see if you're 100 proof, you know, like that. Nobody beats the biz, that sort of shit, you know. But you don't think about at first glance how like Bored could drive that particular emotion or that particular behavior out, until you look at it twice and be like, damn, just like you said. Like I went back and I listened to Adrenaline, the whole album, like this morning. I was just like, damn, this is a lot of good shit. Roots, I was like, damn. And then he's a and they just go into that groove. I was like, damn, dude, you guys, what are you guys trying to get us to 9 billion in 6 months? Like, what do you and it's not even 6 months, it's 9 months. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to accelerate the gestation process, but it's fun. It's fun to investigate. And that's one thing that I discovered in terms of literary, how to translate that energy that they're projecting to their compositions, right? That groove that's underneath, that Abe has, those killer riffs, those melodic riffs that Steph has, and those front. I don't know how the hell Chino does it. I'm not even sure if it's called singing. That's more like, I don't know. It's just Chino. There should be like, I don't know, a vocal school called Chino. But anywho, between those three, they make this amalgamation of this energy, right? And it exists in different magnitudes with each song in each album. How they execute it is different, and it's beautiful to see. Like, between, I'll keep referencing Saturday Night Wrist, because I think folks should really, between Saturday Night Wrist and Gore, you guys should go back and listen to that. I know, White Pony was your injury drug. I know you guys wanted more White Pony sounding stuff, but Deftones are Deftones. That's the beauty of Deftones. They could take it to wherever they wanted to go. They could jump in their motherfucking spaceship and fly into a universe and make their own fucking planet. That's what made Self-Titled so brilliant. From Needles and Pins to Minerva, that was 2 different universes, and they executed it magnificently, right? Who doesn't love Minerva? If you don't love Minerva, by the way, no spoilers, but I directly use Minerva at the end of my second book, which is out now, Darkness Falls. It's on the last page of Darkness Falls. That's
Didn't
how
you just release you just announced like the release years for like the next 3 books too, didn't you?
I did.
I saw you post something. You were like, guess
oh,
what?
you saw that shit. Yeah. I was
You're
like, guys,
23, 24, 26. I was like, damn.
I was sitting here just with my screens like I was doing, and I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if, because that's how this shit happens, dude. Wouldn't it be cool if? And so I said, man, so the third book, Vengeance Theorem, that's 2023. Fourth book, Retribution, that's the end of this particular series, Journey of the Shadow. And then the second series, I was like, because I've been wanting to write since 2018, but I was just like, I didn't have a whole lot to put together in terms of what the series was going to be renamed. I had the ideas, and then it finally just freaking hit me. I was like, Rise of the Shadow. I was like, oh shit. I said, oh, that sounds like an 80s sci-fi movie starring Sigourney Weaver or something. Like, I want to go sit, you know what I mean? And when I saw Sigourney Weaver with that fucking loader, and she was, battling the Xeno Queen, and she said, get away from her, you bitch. I was like, damn, I had an instant boner. Still get an instant boner. Not even going to lie on this fucking show. I'm not even going to, I mean, it's a great show. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I had a boner. Sarah Connor gave me a boner, but my God, this is Ellen Ripley. I was like, can you please?
Ripley was where it was at. Ripley was where it was at. Yeah.
Still.
Shout to Cameron, man. Wait, Alien wasn't Cameron. Alien.
I was Ridley. Yeah, I was Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. Yeah. No,
Ridley Scott. He was that was Terminator. So I mean, shout out to both of those guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate the free boners. and which
strong,
leads me,
and the strong females,
which is why you see what you see back here. Sorry, my voice is trailing because I'm doing a lot of hand waving, but this is another reason why you see what you see. I said, we've got it. In order for this young man to understand his gifts, who he is, try to establish a pathway for him to reflect upon himself, you need some strong ladies. And everyone's got their flaws, yada, yada, yada. And you write that in the book, and people tend to appreciate them because it's relatable, yada, yada. But when you see this interrelationship, right, this dynamic of how they, their scope of observation, right? And I say scope of observation because each of these ladies see Sumisu in a different perspective. That's tough to do. That's probably one of the reasons why it took me so long to write this shit. But each of them see him in a different way. Some they'll see different dimensions, multifacets, and that sort of thing. Some of them they'll try to bring out a particular characteristic. And some they don't even look at him. And I have to say this especially because, and I'll pair this with, I don't think there's any such thing as a bad Deftones album. There's no such thing as that. I wanted to capitalize on that after, like, when I talked to Wes Borland, it's like, there's no such thing as a bad album or whatever. When you look at it in terms of what it is that you're appreciating from the artist, there's no such thing as it's almost like Bob Ross. There's no mistakes. They're happy little accidents. When you look at that in terms of development, what it is that you're trying to execute, what is this person trying to communicate? What are they trying to accomplish? When you look at it that perspective, my God, the opportunity is limitless. So all of these beautiful ladies are even more beautiful on the inside. And all of that is going to hit this motherfucker, my main character, this motherfucker. I mean, he's a humble guy. He's funny. He thinks impulsively, which is funny. So there's a lot of comedy in there. And he has this thing called delirium where he says things when he's tired, and it may be brutal honesty, like, God, you're sexy. And then that would get him in trouble, right? But outside of all these so-called flaws, they don't look at him as flawed. Like, there's no such thing as a flawed album, yada, yada, yada. You look at it as an opportunity. You see that as an accessibility to who that person is, what their interests are, what their strengths, their fears, all this other stuff. And you compare that to what the artist is trying to accomplish with what their fears, what their strengths, etc. Right? Look at it at that same scope, and you will never hop on Instagram and be like, "Oh, these albums suck because they don't like the snares." Okay, that's one person. You know what I'm referencing. You know what I'm referencing. Yes, I do. Like, can you drop the Dave Mustaine energy just a little bit? Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, that's the same sort of perspective, I would say, that I implement into my literary writing. And that helped facilitate, would you know it, my ability to write erotica into the story, because it wasn't originally a component. The action, sure, the comedy, sure, the romance, and there was like flirting, yada, yada, yada. But as the universe expanded, as my understanding of what Deftones was doing expanded, it just multiplied the ideas that I didn't know existed. You know what I'm saying? And I really have to credit on the show Saturday Night Wrist as that anchor that I went back. That was the first album that I went back and investigated and said, wait a fucking second. Yeah. What are these guys doing? And then, like I said earlier, and I'm still confused emotionally about the last 50 seconds of Beware. So, hey, Frank Delgado. Yeah, you, the one with the amazing photography. If you could just send me a DM or something, because I know you were in the studio when this happened. Can you I don't know, just send me like a 1 or 2 word sentence to summarize that 57 seconds? I appreciate that, Frank. Bumped into Frank on socials, since we're talking about. Bumped into Frankie on socials, not because of what, your Deftones, this, that, and the third. We ran into each other because of the stuff that we're not commonly known for doing. Like when I hopped on to the gram, I was like doing a lot of guitar, and I looked at a lot of Frank and Randy Blythe's photography because I was looking at storytelling. Right. I was originally, Woody, I'm going to be directly honest with you. I was looking at me playing the guitar as a vehicle to bring attention to my literary. Right. And as I was doing that, I was like, man, Frank is a damn good photographer. Then I started talking to him about it. And you will be surprised. It's just the wealth of knowledge this man has about photography outside of, he lives in a fucking library of vinyls, right? The man is a fucking vinyl. Like, I don't know how he did him. Between him and OG Crook, they're like the Library of Congress of vinyls. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I want to know how the fuck they find time to A, find the shit that they find, and
then
B, just listen to it. Like, I don't know how
do they do it?
How do they budget time for that? Because it's like massive, the knowledge. Like
it's
Rolodex of just wild ass bands that they know about, or wild ass albums. I'm like,
wild ass albums. Like, bro, how did you
cool shit?
Just yes. Oh, dope shit. Yeah, no matter what they throw on, any DJ, So yeah, shout out to man Frank. And we got to know each other with our other artistic interests, right? Him and his photography, and me and the Jury and Shadow, yada yada. And he does this stuff but they're on tour now, but then during the pandemic or whatever, and they were doing the stuff on Twitch with the what was it? Yeah. And they were doing their live DJ sets that they used to do in that club in Sacramento. Heavy Duty, that's what it was, Heavy Duty. Yeah. And one night I stepped in on my Journey of the Shadow account. I was just like, hey, Frank, I'm just stopping by and showing some love, showing some respect. And I was like, this is Stone. He was just like, dude, I know who you are. I was like, oh, well, there it is. I didn't have to explain to him because we understood who we are as creatives. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to explain it twice. Like, oh, that's the guy that does a bunch of Deftones covers. You know what I mean? Or that's the guy, that's the DJ in Deftones. No, Frank, as this, every individual has multi-dimensional interests, right? Sure. So in society / socials, we tend to try to compartmentalize people into like this one-trick pony.
Truly.
You know what I mean? And, it's not fair to the individual. Anyway, get off the soapbox for a second. Hop off the train for a second. There it is in motion. Let me hop off the train for a second. But it's real cool that we spoke at length about these other interests that we have artistically and how we have these different perceptions of viewing the world. Like I mentioned, that really magnificent shot that he took of Steph and Serge, and I think it had to been Hellfest in 2015. And it was the sun was in front of them and they were silhouetted. It was just beautiful. But then outside of just taking shots about the band, the daily life shots, how he told a story in one frame. And of course that led me to Randy Blythe, and got to know him, etc. Outside of me listening to Lamb of God records, and before that it was Burn the Priest, right? And I just got to know Randy just as an individual. Cool as fucking, my gosh, shout out to you, Randy. Like this is a brother from another mother. I was like, damn, dude, I ran into you earlier. But it's just interesting to look at what we do creatively. And then when you look at it in a different perspective, you'll see that there may be something else that inspires you as a creative. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't create something, just take a second and say, well, I like X, Y, or Z band, but then try to listen to it in a different light, regardless of what that is. I guarantee you'll find something different, even if you've been listening to it for the last 20, 30 something odd years, because it hit me like a fucking freight train. I was like, what? Damn, I hadn't noticed that before. I was like, but surely I'd notice this because I'm playing guitar. Nope. That's just one dimension.
But that's really cool, because that what you're saying about getting to know those guys, or understanding them, and the depth of their creativity, or the different layers that they work in, and then thinking about the storytelling that you're doing, and how the different narratives and history and backstory that each character brings to the table informs the ultimate story told, and all of that really resonates with me, and it really connects with me when I think about what went down with Sergio Vega. And I've been really
Serge, my man, Serge.
Been eager to talk with you about it, because
love you, Serge.
I know that you do got a lot of love for Sergio Vega.
Yeah, and talk to this guy.
It's a difficult story to tell.
It is
not just because of the outcome, but because we only have one narrative, right? Like we only have Sergio's side of the story,
right?
So really, even like getting a full understanding of like what went down it's tough to do. Like we just don't know what Deftones, they haven't given us anything.
They haven't said anything
at all.
They haven't mentioned anything. It's like they just want it to happen and then sweep it and then move right along. I was like, well, that rubs my titties. Sorry to bring up titties again, but that rubs my titties the wrong way. Should I have them?
There's no wrong way to rub a titty.
But let's be honest.
The only way, I guess, is without permission. That's the only wrong.
That's the only way. That's the wrong way. But you're absolutely right. It's difficult to assess the entirety of the story without hearing everybody. All you're left with is conjecture, right? But in terms of my relationship with Serge and just me knowing him, gosh, what a freaking sweetheart. We talked about sweethearts. Like Wes Borland's a sweetheart, and Serge is just one of those individuals that, God, man, he'll give you the shirt off his back. I'm not even sure if he will swat a fly. I'm like, Serge, I need to DM him. I'm like, would you swat a fly? Would you do it? Would you do it? You won't take a picture of it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to dare him.
He just catch it and then let it go.
Yeah, he'll just let it go. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, oh shit. Oh, so you're a kung fu master too? Okay, all right, cool. But you never hit anything. Got it. I understand. But speaking to that, that's what hurt me. Like as a friend, seeing that. Okay, like when he released the video, and you and I both saw how hurt that man was. I think everybody saw how hurt that man was because it was unexpected. It was so sudden. And I was like, okay, well, I said, well, maybe one of these days we'll hear something from, I don't know. I said, maybe we'll hear something from the band to the effect of, we didn't want any bad blood or, much respect to Serge and for everything that he's contributed to Deftones and the organization and the records, yada, yada, because he did a fucking lot. He did a lot. I mean, so, I was like, well, I don't know whether or not they're under some sort of legal order to like not speak about it or some shit, because we know how vulturous and how nasty the industry is. We don't have to go into details.
No, I mean, we get I think there's a lot of room to speculate in terms of like management or you know what I mean?
Management,
like
legal team, all this other type,
like all that sort of stuff. But I think there's also something to be said just for the human side of it that seems absent.
Yeah, the humanity. Where the absence of respect for what he did in contribution to the band. We know that those are huge. That's a huge role to fill after the passing of Chi, right? Like no one on earth can replace that man. Absolutely not. And I don't think Serge was out to do that. Absolutely not. But what he wanted to do, and I'll piggyback off of what Brian said on your show the other day, was that rising of the phoenix out of the ashes, right? Large part due to that charisma, that character that Sergio Vega has, and it's like a light that he carries with him. I encourage you guys, you listeners at home, to look up F With Me podcast from Shaka Malik of Burn, Orange 9mm, Ghost Decibel. Shout out to you, Shaka. And he did an interview with Serge because they're both from New York.
Yeah,
and they're talking about the people of color growing up in the hard rock scene and the punk rock and the different types of influences and stuff. It's really interesting to watch. But I think personally that a large function of Deftones getting that sound, that rebirth energy, was a function of Serge being a part of that group and giving that energy, allowing them to have that energy after such a tragedy, right? Because he's that kind of person, right? I said it sparks with somebody. And you hear it throughout that whole Diamond Eyes record. It's unmistakable, right? I put Diamond Eyes like right there beside all the other records. You know what I mean? Like you have eras and et cetera, et cetera. And Diamond Eyes gives me chills. I'm thinking about it. Like when I first heard it, I was just like, my God, this is amazing. What they did, we haven't mentioned this album. Sorry, fans, Koi no Yokon, because I mentioned Gauze, but I need to mention Poltergeist because that shit was absolutely amazing. Like, what the fuck were they on when they did it? But it was so much energy. So, and I say that all in retrospect to what Sergio was contributing to the band. And I have to ask personally, as a human being, and I'll quote the words of my father, God rest his soul. He said, if you can't afford someone respect, then what is it that you're offering them? Man, he dropped that on me when I was like a kid. I think about that. And I was like, man, I need to take that wherever the hell I go. And I did, because that offering of respect to someone, I don't know you. I don't have to know everything about you. But the first thing that I will grant you, my friend, is respect. And after that, everything else can be easy because we establish respect first. We didn't even talk about money. It wasn't even about money and all that other bullshit. Everything that I've done, I promise you, my friend, everything that I've done, from being a scientist to being a teacher to working in retail, this musician, this authorship, everything was respect first. And I said, well, my God, that makes me wonder then what is it that they were offering Serge that entire time that he was with the band? Like, you heard the chatter from the fans with the conjecture, like, oh, well, he wasn't really part of the band. I'm like, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
But I also have to play devil's advocate to a certain degree and say, well, like, okay, if what you're saying is true and it feels authentic, then there probably was some amount of either disrespect,
or egos, or something that was feeding. Like
something wasn't
jiving. You know what I mean? And
that's
we
the
don't
part
know
that we're
what
sort
that
of
is.
just
We're like, what was it? What is it?
Yeah.
Say something. Let us know.
And maybe their narrative is they don't want to share it because they don't want to make the shit look any worse or I don't know.
Something.
I don't know.
Like you said, it's pure conjecture. We can go a million ways with it, my friend. That unknown.
But it is also fair to be like, to lament the loss of Sergio, and then
this man was
vitally important for all the reasons that you just. I mean, saving the band is, I don't think, too strong. You know what I mean?
I understand
on the Diamond Eyes record and within the Wake of Cheese accident, but we don't entirely know. We don't know the inner workings of the relationship, and
we don't know how the band dynamic.
Something had to be.
Something was said. I don't think somebody slapped somebody's mama. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot like that. You know what I'm saying? But
otherwise, I think maybe we would know. We would know. Like,
we would know. Like,
come out like Serge's
He
out of
he did
pocket.
this.
Fuck
He's out of
him.
pocket. He's out of
Yeah.
yeah, right. Fuck this guy. Smack my mama. Okay. So all right, you want to do that? Next time we're on tour, I'm gonna roll by the neighborhood. You know what I'm
And
saying? But that
like a
didn't
little
happen.
and to speak to that just briefly in my part in like sharing that screenshot.
Oh yeah, the infamous screenshot.
Yeah, the screenshot heard around the world. I
Yeah,
certainly
buddy.
regret sharing it for the embarrassment that it probably caused.
Yeah.
But I, in my defense, like my journey for this past couple of years with this podcast has been to reveal the truths of this band. And that felt like such a truth revealed. What truth, I'm not entirely sure, because there was no explanation surrounded, and it was just a screenshot that I got.
It was just yeah.
But like the fact that there was some truth revealed in that, and that I'm thankful for, because that's what, like, it's not our business as fans. Like, we don't need to know everything. And they can have their art and their privacy, but like, we also have an investment in this man who's like,
we have
as
an
far as the
emotional
narrative
investment.
goes, has been so crucial for the past 12 years.
Are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, that's unmistakable. So
I might be a shithead for sharing the shit.
Sure, I mean, and wear the
Like,
title of shithead for wearing that, but
I definitely am a shithead for that. Like, that sucks. Like,
but at the end of the day, my friend, because of our investment as human beings, right? We don't wake up in the morning saying that we're going to separate this from that. No, human beings are, you guessed it, associative creatures. We blend together a lot of things that we get from our environment, a lot of information, because that's how we understand where we are and what we're trying to do. But anyway, and it's no different than when you're invested into a band, because they're human beings too, for crying out loud. Like are we just going to just dismiss the fact that we're human beings interested in other human beings, regardless of what they're doing? We're humans we're humans invested into other humans at the atomic structure, right? So of course, at the behest of something that was transpiring, the human nature is going to be like, well, I'm going to try to find out what is it? What is it? And it may seem detrimental to some group of people. It may seem beneficial to one group of people, but at the end of the day, it's what it mattered to you. What did it matter to you in order when you saw that information, be like, man, and you're constantly asking this question, and everyone's guilty of this, because why? Guess what? We're humans. See that? How I brought that around full circle. So if we were to cast blameworthiness at each other, like based upon like the precipice of why you shared that screenshot, none of us would be friends on the planet. None of us. We would be at each other's throats, slapping each other's mamas. You know what I mean? We would even have mamas, because we wouldn't get down to straight up mating because we hate each other so much. Then there would be the extinction of human beings. We probably wouldn't even have Deftones if that were. You see what I'm going with it? Fuck that.
I don't want to live without Deftones.
I mean, fuck that shit. Fuck.
And that was at the root of too of like sort of what was going on at that time. I was like, who the fuck is gonna play bass? Like, what is happening? Like, I just want to know I want to know what's going on. Like Marvin Gaye, rest in peace, Marvin Gaye. Just what's going on, you know? And maybe that isn't, maybe I'm privileged to like have that like nature, like feel like I need that knowledge, or I'm entitled to that knowledge or that information like that. I want to know, but also some of it feels like in this world of instability, I need my band to be okay.
I need that. I was about to mention that. I was just like, bro, we've got so many things going wrong on Earth right now, and I don't need to point out some obvious things. Damn, these gas prices, y'all. I got murdered at the gas pump the other day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still bleeding. You know what I mean? Like it's like real shit. And I'm like, okay, we wake up and we face these stressors every single fucking day, right? And everyone in every sector, in every socioeconomic, well, except for those guys up there, they're fine. The shareholders are fine. They're happy, but they're okay. Yeah, they're fine. But in terms of everyday people just trying to get along, just trying to do and make provision for themselves, it's like, damn, it sucks more than it did 2 years ago. It sucks more than it did 6 years ago or whatever. Right? Because you remember you lived through that period. So you have these stacked on stressors. And then suddenly you see something like, what's going on with Deftones? I use Deftones to get away from this shit. What is happening with Deftones? Right. And that circulates in your head. And you don't want anything detrimental to happen to an entity that was bringing you relief during these stressful times. You see where I'm going with this? Now you're looking at the psychoanalysis of it. You don't wish for anything bad to transpire between these people that have brought you, you know, this happiness, contentment, joy, exploration. And, you know, maybe you bang to it. The folks at home, you're lucky enough to bang to it once or twice. If it was once, shout out to you. Hope you know that, like I said, change in the house of life, babies. But you don't want to see that happen. You'd be like, well, guys, what? Yeah. So you're even more curious. You're not just curious, you're concerned. Yeah. And that has a lot more weight behind it than be like, oh my gosh, like some sort of trivial shit. No, this wasn't trivial. We're like, what's going on with them? What's wrong? Right. And because you were investigating, well, damn, you know what? What's wrong? That means you gave a shit. In my mind, that means you gave a damn. Because if you didn't, you would have treated like, oh, Dave Mustang's going off again. Oh, who else can I quote? I'm just going to leave that as the only example. You know what I mean? You say with some sort of.
It gets worse from there.
it gets
fucking weirder and weirder.
It gets weirder the further I go away from the Dave Mustaine. Spectrum.
And then you're in Kid Rock territory.
Yeah, then you're in Kid Rock, and you're like, shit. Let's can we just back this car up? We only have so much gas, but we can make it 20 miles in reverse. Can we just?
With the what? No.
Get
out of here. No,
yeah,
not anymore.
Not my name is not Kid Rock, and that's all we're going to say.
It used to be.
It used to be, but not anymore, folks. Not anymore. But I agree with you that it's disheartening to see his exit, and that sticks with you, right? I know that for the business, like the show's got to go on, et cetera, et cetera. Right. But in terms of people, that you're still wondering what happened. And until we get some solidified answer from, I don't care if it's management's holding the band back or legal is holding, whatever the fuck it is, you know what I mean? Because like you said, it only can be conjecture, but whatever it is, that's going to stick with you, right? Until you can get some closure. Human beings, we're creatures. We want there's a conclusion to it, right? Especially during a stressful environment, especially when you don't want things to happen to people that you respect, right? Goes back to respect. People that you held in high regard that brought this much, you know, enrichment to your life over the decade, not years, motherfuckers, decades, bro. And you don't want this to happen. So I wholeheartedly agree. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share like a positive note. We're talking about Surge. Surge, one day, was it 2019, maybe 2018, and he used to go live all the time with, I think it's his fiance Azulette. I think it's still, and they're doing their laundry just like anybody else. You know what I mean? I go to the laundromat up, you know, the street. There's 24 hours. And when I need to meditate or something, I go there at 3:00 in the morning. No clothes or whatever. I just go to the laundromat. Something about the sound of washers. Just
wait, you're not wearing any clothes when you go to the laundromat?
No. The cops aren't there, so I can do what I want. It's 3 a.m. They're on the other side of town getting the donuts. Shout out to the police. I appreciate you guys. But he Surge, he was doing his live stream. He was answering some questions, just interacting with people, right? Just Surge being Surge. And I popped up because, you know, I was just telling him, hey, what's going on? And he stopped everything. And I'm not sure if I told you this, Woody, but during that live stream, he said, hold up. He said, hold up, everybody. He said, this guy right here, this guy Stone, because my name showed up as Doom_hiatus, but he knew me by name. And he was like, he said, I just have to acknowledge what Stone has been doing for Deftones. He said, he plays our songs with such enthusiasm. He said, with such passion. He said, he said, dude, thank you so much for just spreading our music the way you do, man. He said, the whole band knows what you're doing. I was like, wow, that's really that hit, because I didn't expect that or whatever. Like, I knew the dude was cool as fuck, right? You know what I mean? Et cetera, et cetera. But he stopped the whole conversation to acknowledge what I was doing in terms of getting the band's music out there and showing other folks, you know, my passion that I have for Deftones, and be like, yo, guys, check this shit out. This shit is still, I don't give a damn. It's 23 years old. This shit's still dope as fuck, right? And that sort of appreciation, it comes from someone that has a genuine, that they've already thought about that beforehand, before they brought it to your attention. You see that? Yeah. Those are the type of individuals that spend thought, and they look at things with a multiple set of lenses. Those genuine people, like God rest his soul, Taylor Hawkins, you know what I mean? That sort of genuine, that walk sunshine in two legs, that sort of thing. And from that point on, got to know him, you know what I mean, as a person. And I'm like, I said, if I don't know how much time I've got left on this planet, I don't know how much time, my man's got on this planet, et cetera, et cetera. The least we can do is share our mutual respect and appreciation for what we're doing as creatives. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I got to know all these guys. Like, okay, my man Matt Heafy, congratulations on that side project, Ibaraki, man, for Florida Man, Sweatband Dad Man. I got to know Matt Heafy that way. Got the whole band of Bush, the band Bush. No Sex in Your Violence. Shout out to you, Gavin Rossdale.
Gavin Rossdale, huge Deftones fan.
So right,
Gavin Rossdale loves Deftones.
And I was just like, look at the circle of folks that just appreciate what we're doing, right? Yeah. And that's the first step, shout out to Corey Britz, bassist. That's a funny motherfucker. I'm telling you, he's got a wicked sense of humor. And my man Chris Trainer, he was in Helmet, loved the fuck out of Helmet. I was like, how in the world can I love Helmet, Bush, and Deftones? I'm like, how can I know someone like Chris? Chris Trainer is a fucking sweetheart. And all these people are sweethearts. But back to what I was saying about Surge is, within that moment, you understood that it was more than just me being out there and playing the guitar. It was the depth of passion, the enthusiasm, the intent behind it, what I was trying to demonstrate, communicate to other people. Bang, bam, brought it right back. What are you communicating to other people? Right. So, of course, I know my man's got Quicksand. He's always had that project. He's got some other projects as well. So we wish him all the motherfucking best, Surge. And if you ever need like some chocolates or something, you could walk up the street and buy them, sure. But if you ever want some chocolates from the dirty, dirty South, I mean, just hit your boy up. I'll send it to you in a refrigerated packet. Not a problem, sir. Not a problem.
Hell yeah. A little extra shipping, keep it, but hey, refrigerated.
Or refrigerated, baby, man.
Nobody eats chocolate room temp. Fuck that.
Well, I knew one guy. It's business.
Oh
no, this is 2011. Okay, he ate it room temperature, and it was a Saturday, and we were in like Penn State. I was like, bro, are you going to eat that? He's like, yeah. I was like, no. I just said no.
It's been in your pocket for 20 minutes, man. Get it up.
20 minutes. What you doing? And then he just shoved it in his face. It was half a bar. It was half of a Mr. Good bar. I said, no. He did. He paid for it the next morning. So all I'm saying, folks, is that you got two choices. One, you can eat Taco Bell, have the same consequence, or you can eat half a melted bar of Mr. Good bar, and that's
chill your chocolate. Always chill your chocolate.
Chill your chocolate, right? Okay. Brought to you by
Chill your chocolate.
Chill your chocolate.
I love it. I love that you're saying that. I think there is something about, you appreciate what these people are doing, and the creative output, which is obviously an extension of the soul, and the ability to connect with that, and that's caring is derived from that connection. That's
absolutely
not having that finality and that closure and that conclusion.
Man, it's a like burden a burden on your conscience, because you want to know.
It's like an open wound.
You need to know why. Yeah, it's an open wound. You didn't want it to be there. No one wanted it to be there.
I also do want to say that, like, I'm still stoked for the fact that Deftones are going to continue, and like I don't want to take away from what they do moving forward either. Like,
absolutely
it's a strange dichotomy.
I know it's weird. It puts us in a strange position, right? Because we still love to root for everybody. Right. I want to root for every motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
But don't put me in a position to where I have apprehension towards rooting for you. Don't.
And I feel like I sort of facilitated that a little bit. I feel like I facilitated that by sharing.
You did.
Is by.
That's what I got. That's what I read.
And that sucks. That's why I feel.
And it sucks. You felt like you were in a corner. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
maybe I hastily posted it. It was done in haste and my hurry to share this.
Your heart's in front of your head. but then you
Weird.
don't just
Weird.
it's like it's a weird place to be.
Not happy, but here we are. Quick, because talking about conclusion and everything, we should probably get going before too long though. But I want to make sure that I know which are the Deftones songs to fuck to, which are the ones that you got on the fucking list.
Okay, listen, folks, listen close. MX, that's the top of the list. Okay, MX. Change. Okay. Cherry Waves. All right. You've Seen the Butcher. You've got to. Pink Maggot. Just throw it on. Just the last song on the White Pony album. Just throw it on. All right. And listen, I'll say it on the show. I speak from experience. That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, you can throw on like Labia, right? Because it's almost like that's that hunter prowler energy.
No digital bath. You don't got digital bath anywhere in there?
Digital bath was in the.
Is that some warm up music? That's the
warm up music.
We're getting sexy, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting sexy
because there is a climax in that song.
Absolutely,
it's not a premature climax.
No. That's when everyone's on the same page.
They're coming together.
We've all like the management spoke to public relations, and we've got an agreement. It was like success. We did it.
Oh my god, that fucking rules. That's so fun.
Throw Digital Bath up there just for giggles. But my friends, if you want to be adventurous, just throw on Beware. Just throw on Beware, and you'll be like, "Wow, what am I supposed to do now?" You'll be thinking, "Well, this is instinctual." But then, when the last 57 seconds, I'll say it again, damn it! When the last 57 seconds of Beware hits, you're just like, "What do I do? Do I keep going? Do I stop? Should I go cry in the shower? Should I be angry? Should I?"
That last minute there, my friend, that's what we call Pound Town.
It's
Beware is literally a warning. You're on your way to Pound Town.
You're on your way to, okay. You're welcome to the kingdom of Slam-A-Lot. All right. that's what we're talking about. And so I just want to, small plug, my man here in the second book, he may go to Slam-A-Lot multiple times with with some some of these ladies that you see. Period. I'm just going to say that. And then I do reference. I directly reference like Deftones and a lot of other bands and stuff, but I directly reference Beware. And that's this lady. You guys can't see it at home. I'm pointing to her, but she's got like long, white, silvery, flowing hair. She's got these beautiful amethyst eyes. That's Goddess Evelyn, right? Goddess Evelyn's favorite Deftones song is Beware. And maybe that's the reason why I mentioned so often. But guess who? This is the goth lady, the little goth looking goddess. That's Nikita. Her favorite song is Lotion. Lotion is a high energy driving, like, my God.
You see, they brought it back live. They just started playing it live again.
They started playing it live again, dude. I was just like, you motherfuckers. Y'all
Lovers or Lotion, and what are you choosing? If you're Lovers or Lotion, what are you going to choose? Because that was what happened. Lovers was they out of nowhere decided they bring Lovers. Like what?
Lovers,
mine
really?
Completely like fell off, and then after I don't know how many shows they brought Lovers or Lotion back. Lotion. They hadn't played Lotion back since like 15, I think is what.
About 14 to 15.
Deftones Live said.
Yeah, about 14 to 15. That's like, wow, guys. Oof.
I don't know. I think I would still choose Lovers because I think I've heard Lotion live, but I would still probably choose Lovers to hear live because it's
Lovers.
It's Lovers. All of the things around Lovers.
Lovers is so good. I mean, it's all good, but but we've said that a lot during the podcast, folks. But Lovers, okay. Oh, and their cover of Helmet's song Sinatra, fucking amazing. Abe hits I don't know. It's like there's some sort of, I don't know what the drums did to him in that cover, but he hits the drums so hard that you just can't help but like move to it. I was just like, you can smash. You're going to the Pound Town with the song. I was like, especially in the middle when they get to the bridge, which is just an instrumental. And Helmet's all about that motherfucking groove. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and then when Deftones does a Helmet, they threw their sex in it. I was just like, yes.
Yeah. Totally. Every time Abe hits a tom, somebody gets pregnant.
Oh, is that? See, let's write that down, folks. This is how we're getting to this population apex through, you guessed it, through the mannerisms of sex. But because Abe Cunningham, he's wearing it out. So listen, you guys want to wear it out? You guys wear it out. He's doing the same thing. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham, for your contributions to humanity, for extending the species.
So fucking rad.
Well, you're not going to believe this. I forgot to ask Stone for his recommendations to end the conversation. What a goon, right? But I did remember the first time, so here's what Stone offered up. 3 recommendations from the first podcast we recorded.
I would say you're probably already on Loathe as One, because that's how Chino hooked me up. I saw his tweet, and I was just like, Loathe as One, like, these motherfuckers out of UK, they're doing a brilliant job. I've been listening to a lot of synthwave, my friend. FM84 and Ollie W. Ride. That's Ollie, OLLIEWRID. And any collaboration song, any collab song that FM84 and Ollie does is pure magic, absolute magic. Oh my gosh! Speaking of more synthwave, I think System Glitch. Look up System Glitch. Raining in Tokyo. My God. Oh, I have that song on repeat, and I'm just like, I showed my niece. It was beautiful. Did I just name 3 things? I can list. What else have we been doing with our lives, literature-wise? I haven't been reading a lot because you get into your own head. You know what I mean? And you just want to create that unique space. You know how J.K.W. Rowling kind of like made the whole Harry Potter series or something like that. And it was completely unique. You kind of like isolate yourself from like soaking in too much medium because you want to stay true and unique to that environment. But I will say, if I were to give you anything, it would be FM84, especially with Ollie W. Ride. Check that out. Every song that they have done together is pure and absolute magic.
Well, that's it for my conversation with Stone Abdullah. You can buy his book at journeyoftheshadow.com and see some of the artwork there too. And as for our conversation specifically about Sergio and how all that went down, I know I'm burying it at the bottom of this episode, but I would like to apologize for my part in it, spreading the news. It sucks for sure, but I also wonder, would we have ever even heard his side of the story had I not shared the screenshot? I mean, I don't recall Deftones ever making any official announcement when he joined the band. It's just not their style. I don't know. Next week, I'm excited to introduce you to a band I discovered sometime in the middle of the pandemic, if there is a middle. Maybe this is the middle. I don't know. They're called Bore, and they kick ass, so make sure you're here. My name is Woody. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Woodbruh. Hit me up. Thank you for listening to Deftones, and thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods.